All right, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Sir Splash, and today I got a good friend of mine, Cool Geek here. Cool Geek, you want to say what's up?
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
Real quick, he also has a channel if you want to check it out. He does debates and power scaling. I'll link it, and I'll either pin a comment or put it in the description, but go check him out. And today we will be going back and forth on what's a better story, Naruto or Yu Yu Hakusho. Now, this kind of I've been receiving a lot of criticism for almost turncoating on Naruto, but the reason for that is basically I read Yu Yu, realized Naruto stole a lot of its swag, and I was like, man, Naruto kind of sucks now. I still somewhat enjoy it moderately. Like some of the aspects are cool, but anyways, today the categories we are going to go over is heroes, villains, arcs, character development, and consistency. So, which one do you want to start with first?
Let's start with villains. I think Naruto's best, well-known thing is its villains, probably.
All right. So, what do you think makes a good villain?
I think being a good villain has to do with the villain having some sort of like goal that's not too out there, but also pretty like grand. Like it's meaningful, right? A meaningful goal, but nothing too like out there. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So, what villain do you want to discuss first?
Um, we can go over um we can go over Obito first.
Okay. I will go ahead and Obito's not the main. I'll use Toguro to kind of compare to Obito. Do you want to do like three characters from each category?
Sure, that's cool.
All right, yeah. So your main villain for the first thing you'll talk about is Obito. I'll use Toguro.
All right.
So why do you think Obito's a good character?
Okay, I think he's a good character because he he has a relatively fleshed out backstory, right? Which sort of flesh out his goals and make them come to light a lot better. Like his goals, right, is to accomplish this plan to essentially mind hacks the entire world to make sure no one can experience the pain that he's experienced, right? Everything from like his friends, like his friend dying in front of him and like getting crushed and to near death and all that sort of thing, and like people just dying in front of him over and over again. So basically, his goals are just really fleshed out, and he has a decent backstory.
Okay, so Toguro, I think is a lot better than Obito. One, he there's no almost no call to attack his character consistency or victims to plot. In regards to that, I mean, of course, the stigma attached to Obito about he's wilding out because of Ren or whatever. Like his survival was kind of I'm not sure if that's even plausible what happened with him. As well as he drops his motives at the end, like just completely drops the ball, which is one of the best things about villains is villains that stick with being villains. The thing with Toguro that makes him better with that is there's almost no. Are you familiar with Yu Yu at all?
No, not at all. I was supposed to get into it, but never did.
All right, so I'll give you a backdrop on Toguro. So Toguro basically, Yusuke, the main character, has a master, Genkai. Genkai used to roll with someone named Toguro, who basically he fell in love with power, the idea of power, but this more so came from a result of the stuff he went through in his life, his teammates dying, witnessing bloodshed, massacre. Basically, he was attaining power to combat that, and it ended up driving him off the deep end as a good person delving into being bad. However, he does still somewhat have class in the way he goes about it. For instance, he pulls up on Yusuke, but when he challenges Yusuke, he says, hey, look, Right now, you can't contend with me, and I don't find it honorable at all to take on someone and dominate someone who just doesn't have any business being in, the same class as me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a year for you and your buddies to train, and you can come enter my tournament, and we'll see what's really popping. And he ends up fighting Genkai. Genkai like kills herself, comes back later, but like basically just so he doesn't get the satisfaction of it. And in the end, he pushes Yusuke to become a better character and a better hero. And I think that's the main purpose of the villain is to drive the hero and give them their purpose. In a lot of ways, like the villain is the crux of the story. And I feel like Togoro does that a lot better than what Obito does for the story. And along those lines, he also propels the story forward, and we understand why he is so necessary to the story.
Okay, I see. So you think the best thing about a villain, right, is pushing the hero forward?
Yeah, I think
Alright,
they're the glue for a good story.
alright, that's fair. Okay, hold on, give me a sec.
Like the thing that we for a long amount of time, we thought he was Madara. He wasn't even Obito for a long time.
Yeah, that's fair. Alright, give me a sec. I have to formulate something.
And I think where hold on, this does go to an overarching problem I have for Naruto is I feel like he's thrown to the wayside really bad too. And I feel like a lot of characters go wasted in Naruto, which is why I prefer Yu. But you can continue.
Okay, what do you mean by wasted?
They're they're like never really completed well, or kind of just abandoned for the sake of introducing something new in the story.
Okay, I see. Alright, so I think that Obito performed a pretty good job pushing, the story forward and like the main character forward. Mostly because even when he was masquerading as Madara, he was still doing things that were pretty essential to the story. Like how the very first thing we hear about in the series is the Nine Tails attack on the village, right? And then we later found out that Obito caused that, and then we later found out that Obito also founded the Akatsuki, right? He like made the Akatsuki what it is today, pretty much, and that's a pretty big deal because like a lot of Naruto's good character moments are when he's dealing with Akatsuki members, like versus Pain. He sort of had to think of a way to bring peace to the world without a bunch of like force, right? Doing it peacefully, and he had to experience, say, like things like the loss of people more so than before, right? Where like when Gaara died and just a whole bunch of these things that were big plot points for Naruto that were caused by Obito. So I think he did a pretty good job at, like, say, pushing the character forward.
But I don't think that was actually at all really that much attributed to Obito. I think it was more so to Sasuke. So you could say he had like an overlying almost puppet attribute, which I kind of understand where you're coming from, but that's not actually what was driving the characters to go forward. It was the people he was controlling and what they were doing, and he wasn't even directly making them do stuff. He was just trying to influence them. So it's those characters themselves. Like Obito's not a Kakuzu. Obito's not Sasuke. So you can give him a little credit for influencing those characters, but he's not those characters.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
And those characters, by the way, those characters were already who they were before Obito's like influenced them. But the thing with Toguro is literally He's the reason we see Yusuke become who he is down the line, because he was able to unlock something in Yusuke, which is showing Yusuke the true consequences of not having the power to make a difference, not stepping up and being the one to make a difference. Because Yusuke thought he lost his best friend when he was fighting Togoro because he wasn't strong enough to stop Togoro. He was strong enough to, go even with Togoro, do enough, but he wasn't strong enough to stop him. Togoro tells him, "This you need to understand." It's like a lot less dramatic version of Pain. You say you need to understand what the difference between a good man and a great man. A good man, does the 50-50, breaks even. The great man has the power to change. And Yusuke isn't able to break through and beat Togoro until he thinks his friend died. And that he failed his friend.
Alright. Alright, let me think a little bit.
I think this is a bad matchup for Obito.
Yeah, I agree.
You have two more villains you can bring up. Do you want to move on?
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this point because I'm bound to lose this one anyway. So yeah, we can move to a different point.
All right. What other villain do you want to go over?
Funnily enough, the next one I wanted to go over was Pain.
Pain. Who do I want to match up with Pain? Let's see. I will use for Pain. See, and here's another point I think Yu Hakusho is so much better, is their villains. They have a lot less villains, but that's because their villains have such standing power within the verse and matter for so long. Let's see. You know what? I guess I'll just use Raizen. I'll count Raizen as a villain.
All right. Okay, so all right. So the main thing I want to go over with Pain is basically how he basically pushed Naruto forward, and this is by essentially the connection he had with Naruto, along with his outlook, was essentially the opposite of Naruto's, and Naruto had to sort of cope with it and learn how to work around it, so to speak, because Naruto's goal, right, was to become the Hokage and make everything better, but he didn't essentially know how. So, and because of Pain, Naruto, he had to essentially start looking at his goals more critically so that he can fulfill them exactly how he wants to, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, hold on real quick. Just texting someone. The thing with I do like Pain for the most part. I think where Pain falls short is how they finished him in the end. I thought that sucked with Talk Jutsu, but through that, through his build up, I do kind of like Pain. I definitely don't see. I don't want the misconception being that I just hate everything about Naruto. There are some aspects I do like, but for just Raizen. So Raizen is a way more important part of the story than Pain, because Raizen he's the ancestor of Yusuke, and he gives him his dormant demon gene that allows Yusuke to break through and achieve great power. And what makes Raizen fascinating is he neglects to operate at his full power because he fell in love with the girl. Promised her he wouldn't. He basically, demons, they got to consume humans and eat in order to maintain strength, and he refused to because he made a promise to a girl he loves, and he's hoping she'll be reincarnated and come back to him. But he's a necessary evil. He's not just wilding out for no reason. He's one of the three demon kings. And he maintains power and maintains what he has to do because it's necessary. Pain, to me, while he's a cool character, he's not really necessary. Like, he's kind of just an asshole for most of the story. But with Raizen, especially when he comes in the picture, he's extremely necessary. And he's the whole reason for Yusuke achieving the power he does by literally giving him. And like the first moment we see him, he's the first one to truly like humble Yusuke, because Yusuke pulled up on him to kill him because he's like, I want to meet my ancestor and show him like what's really good. And he pulls up on him and gets finger flicked by Raizen. Raizen sitting in his chair, boy, he can't even move me. Finger flicks him. Yusuke's like, oh shit, it's friend. So yeah, like Raizen's a necessary evil on top of that, and he's one of the biggest glue points of the series.
Alright. Alright, give me a sec.
Like he lit like that.
Subscribe.
the issue with that I have with Pain is when essentially like when Pain got told to chill the fuck out, he like chilled the fuck out.
Okay, let me think.
Hit the notification button for more videos like this.
Yo, GB, you really should operate like a bot, like one of those pop-ups on videos, just every couple.
I am a bot.
Alright, so I'm gonna alright, so I think alright, so the thing about you said like Pain, like when he was told to chill, he basically like did. The thing about that though, I think it serves more of a bigger picture, right, about the shinobi world and like how it works, right? Because that's what a lot of the plot points are, pretty much, right? They're just like how the shinobi world is going to evolve over time. And basically, I think that the whole like talk no jutsu, because a lot of people do make fun of this, but I think that the whole like talk no jutsu aspect of it it shouldn't be necessarily thought of as a, say, negative for Pain, but more so like a positive for Naruto, because like it's more so like a psychological thing, right? How like how they're both essentially like people who want to have this like giant impact on the world, right? And Pain, he's not bad for losing this struggle to Naruto, because essentially it's basically a battle ideal, and I argue that Pain just had like the more uphill position essentially.
Well, his position was pretty stupid. Like, it was kind of flimsy. He was like, I just want everyone to know as much pain as I do. And, like, dude, for him to attack Naruto and be like, do you know pain? Naruto obviously knows pain. It was so stupid. Like,
True. Although I'd argue that Pain, the thing about it with like Naruto is Naruto did know Pain. We know that, but Pain didn't know that. Yo, sorry
like
about
how
that.
did, with all that stuff, like, how did he not know? You know what I mean? It's kind of like poorly written.
It is a bit weird, but I'd say it's mostly because Obito, like most of the problems in Naruto's life were basically like Obito related, right? So I argue that Obito just like didn't tell him, the same way that that Nagato didn't know that like Obito was like the reason that like a bunch of stuff went down to like make him join him in the first place, you know?
Yeah, but that's my whole point about kind of like characters in Naruto. They don't like, on the surface they pass the test, sure, but when you put them under scrutiny, they kind of fail. So like, as intelligent of a character as Pain is, as much as he's supposed to be all about intel, like knowing what he's doing, grand plans, grand schemes, he doesn't know anything. Like, and he's kind of stupid in that way. Like, he doesn't take the time to see what's really going on with Naruto. He apparently doesn't know anything about Naruto, even though he has all these resources. You know, like, everything Raizen does is because Raizen knows what he's doing. Raizen has looked at everything, understands how it works. He's a political villain on top of being so powerful. Because he says, if I'm gone, or if someone who has my ideas or has my power is gone, this place will collapse. It will create a power vacuum. I am necessary evil. I have to be here, or at the very least, I have to have someone here in my place in order to maintain the demon world. Like, as soon as you ask why, like, if you ask why with Pain, it's kind of like, the answers get murky. When you ask why with Raizen, there's an exact, like, go-to character answer. And by the way, Raizen was the most rushed villain in the series because he wanted to move on to Hunter x Hunter.
Oof. All right.
To talk no jutsu, the comment section. Share your opinions.
All right, we can move on to a different point now.
All right, who's your last villain?
Madara.
Okay, Madara, so you're bringing your big gun. I will be using the big gun Sensui.
All right. So the main few things that I'm thinking I wanna say about Madara first would be how essentially when his hold on. All right, so his plan essentially to do the infinite Tsukuyomi, essentially what he did was he basically wanted to well, his goal was basically the same thing as Obito, except like he was the puppet master controlling Obito along with like the rest of like 90% of the series, pretty much, right? So I'm just gonna say like everything, like essentially everything was of his plan, pretty much. So all of Naruto's character development pretty much came from Madara. And like indirectly.
Well, actually, that's not true. It's actually we find out it's Zetsu's grand plan.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Zetsu. Hold on.
Yeah, that's why Naruto sucks. They kill off the greatness of all of their characters.
Hold on, I forgot about Zetsu. Give me a sec.
For the fairness of being competitive, we'll just say it's mainly Madara. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'll give him some credit on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually I ignore Zetsu, but all right. All right. Give me a sec.
Be sure to comment if you know who Zetsu is.
Okay, so essentially, right, because Madara, right, he like basically his plan is what like accomplished so much essentially, or what he thought was his plan. He so basically like most things came from like his plan, at least that are like related to say like Naruto and stuff, and I'd argue that without him, Naruto's main rival Sasuke wouldn't even like exist because like mainly because like the reincarnation cycle, right? If it wasn't for say Madara, things wouldn't have panned out the way they did. And as a matter of fact, if it wasn't for Madara, the Shinobi world most likely wouldn't have even like formed the way it did, right? Because Madara and Hashirama were the two people that like formed the first village, and then the other villages were basically like copying them. So without Madara, like so many things would have like never like happened.
All right, so first thing I'll go over with Sensui is what makes him so fascinating is he is a fallen hero. He was actually the guy that served as the spirit detective before Yusuke. What happened was there was a tape called a black tape, in which it showed everything essentially wrong with humanity that humanity does. And Sensui was brilliant. He was a brilliant character, brilliant good guy. He was fighting. He believed he was fighting the good fight. You know, he's fighting for humanity, staving away demons, beating demons. He was excellent job. And then he comes upon the truth, or the truth to him at least, based on the evidence provided, which is that humans are arguably worse than the demons. And this flipped everything for Sensui. Killed all those humans. And he realized, I've been fighting on the wrong side for so long. Like, what I believed in, what was I thought to be true, and which is reasonable based on what he was doing in his line of work and what he's been exposed to, is completely wrong. So he said, you know what, screw this. I'm going out on my own. They can't hold me back. Humans deserve to die. And this was a reasonable, logical line of thinking that he went about, because they specifically asked him, why don't you just blow up the earth since you're so strong? He said, don't be an idiot. He said, I don't want to kill the earth. He said, I love animals, I love plants, and I love the earth itself. But humans are the issue. I'm not going to have a bunch of collateral for the sake of one goal. Meanwhile, Madara is out here just fighting everyone for that everyone. Doesn't give a shit about collateral. So, fallen hero. Madara was never really a hero. Madara was even a dick when he was, like, quote, good. Kind of broke easily under the warfare between the Senju and the Uchiha, if I remember correctly. But the reasons for Sensui becoming who he was, completely understandable. Completely makes sense. In fact, they say the reason they picked Yusuke as his replacement is because Yusuke was not nearly as smart as Sensui. So if they said if Yusuke was exposed to what Sensui was exposed to, he wasn't smart enough to really put two and two together and be like, man, this might be a small sample size, but this is a representation of the... He would have just said, wow, these humans are assholes, and just handled them separately. They're like, Sensui was able to figure this as a representation. As a result, he had one of the best villains I've ever read. On top of that, Sensui had like a dormant personality disorder, split personality, and that schism, that realization of his convictions and values were all completely wrong and he was misled, brought those several personalities out, and he had to deal with the constant switching of personality.
All right.
Oh, and if he existed as like a major existential crisis, the first one in the story, essentially, that was for sure gonna bring about the end, because if you destroy the barrier to the demon world, the stronger demons can come through and destroy Earth, destroy the human realm. Now, we had some threats before where they're like, oh, we're going to try to manipulate, make our way through the Earth, take over. But this was like, yo, the results of what he's doing is going to kill all the humans. They will be eradicated. So that's very important. Madara wanted world domination, but he wanted to kill the world. And we understood why. Because he saw them as almost like a cancer. And he wins in the end, even by not killing them, because he had a second goal. He said, I'd be able to see Demon World. And I wanted to compare it to the humans. I wanted to see what side I was really fighting for. And he got to die in Demon World. So in a way, he won.
All right.
Yo, Splash, which one of the 7 personalities are you saying is better than Madara?
All of them.
Okay, that's tough.
All right. Dang, I don't really have anything for that. Want to move on to a different section?
Yeah. We'll go over heroes. We'll do 3 heroes.
All right. All right. Give me a sec.
Yo, use Sasuke so I could pee on him with Hiei.
I don't even like Sasuke.
Oh, damn it.
Imagine not liking the best part of your verse.
Alright, give me a sec, hold up.
Do you want me to go first this time?
Yeah. Can't really think of like 3 people, so yeah.
Alright, so I will use Kuwabara. Kuwabara was a delinquent like Yusuke, and he had a respect for Yusuke when Yusuke was alive because Yusuke was the top delinquent in the area, like the top hood rat. And Kuwabara was like really one of the only ones that would challenge him, openly challenge him, try to fight him, and try to come for that spot, even though he was second. And what we find out with Kuwabara is he has a lot in common with Yusuke, even though they're rivals. Both at their core are good people and will do the right thing. Like Yusuke's old girl, when he's dead, Yusuke's old girl is like kidnapped. Kuwabara is the one, even though Yusuke helps, Kuwabara is the one that pulls up and is like, I'm going to get her out of here because what they're doing is wrong. On top of that, he's a human, so he has the limitations of being human. He doesn't have some like dormant demon gene that Yusuke eventually gets to ride off of. And but he's still fearless. Like, he's still about it. Like, when Sensui initially kills Yusuke, who is by far stronger than all of Yusuke's friends, Kuwabara says, forget it. We're riding on him regardless. We're fighting him regardless. Couldn't do a thing, but it was the principle of fighting until die. And he was also genius in his own way because he pushed Yusuke to get stronger. For example, he faked his death. Even though it was up, he faked his death to get Yusuke to push himself beyond his limitations and defeat Togoro. So he's consistent as hell. He's always striving to be better, even when he doesn't have any business trying to be better. And he's essential to everyone because he has an ability unique to himself where he can cut through dimensions. So he was actually the one they were seeking when they were trying to unleash Demon World. So yeah, his function and his consistency, I could probably argue Kuwabara above any of the heroes from Naruto. And Kuwabara is not even the top hero. But
Okay. Okay, so I think my best bet is to use my guy, I think. I think that'll be a good comparison. So essentially, right, my guy, he's sort of like you went over with Kuwabara, right? He always tries to better himself, right? And he's pretty much always like it's basically elaborated on that when he was like a kid, he had like no talent, but he ended up like rising through the ranks with like no ninjutsu pretty much, right? Which pretty much everyone has, right? So essentially he was given nothing, but he still like rose to the ranks of being like a god tier basically. And essentially the role he plays in the series is essential because it's sort of shown that he's Kakashi's rival, so he always like pushed Kakashi to like get stronger and such, right? And without Kakashi, like the like other like heroes wouldn't have even like been like as good as they were. Like Naruto, for instance, was Kakashi's student, right? So if it wasn't for Guy pushing Kakashi to become better, Kakashi most likely would have like died a long time ago, or at the very least not been as good of like a mentor and such to like the like Naruto and the rest of the main cast and such. And also his like goal to constantly get better, to like become the best, essentially came full bloom and had like a full like explanation, right? When he like unleashed the 8th gate, it went from him being like the springtime of youth to like the autumn leaves that are like reaching their peak or whatever. So essentially he was very consistent throughout the series and held very important roles. Also, he like helped in the fight against the final, like pretty much one of the final villains. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say for him.
Right, so I feel really bad about this because my guy's one of my favorite characters. Um, but so I would say maybe their rise is their rise to who they became to be is kind of similar. Um, However, my guy is not viewed as an underdog. He's viewed as an idiot, but I mean, literally, Madara called him out because he knew how saucy my guy was. So he doesn't have that underdog status. Meanwhile, pretty much every fight Kuwabara gets in, he shouldn't. He's like super pressed to win. And they've even asked him a few times throughout the story. He's like, Kuwabara, why don't you tap out? Like, why don't you let someone basically like, dude, you can take everything from me. You can take my power, like you can take like you can take everything, but you're not going to take my will. You're not going to take what I fight for from me and for the homies, and I'm gonna do it, even if I die. And so his convictions, at least, same thing as my guy, but he definitely presses the main character way more than my guy does. Like the only one that, and the problem with my guy is his rivalry with Kakashi and how they bounce off each other. It's kind of backgroundish. It's not nearly given enough credit or enough. I think a lot of his best qualities, unfortunately, just aren't fleshed out in series. We're aware of it, but it's not shown enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. Because I love my guy, I'm willing to call it a draw. But if you want to press me forward, I will go for the W. So it's on you.
No, I don't think I have anything else for that. We can stick with the draw. That's cool. All right.
Yeah. So Naruto fans, I didn't kill my guy. You're welcome. All right. Next.
All right. Let me see. What hero can I bring up? I don't know. You wanna? Well, okay. I'll use. Oh, I can't even say it. I'm gonna use Sasuke.
I'm using Hiei.
All right. All right. So, the argument I'm gonna make for Sasuke is that his basically his like goals throughout the series have been sort of evolving, and I think a lot of the benefits to Sasuke's character, right, is the fact that he always tries to do what he views to be right, and that starts off, pretty small, him trying to kill his older brother, to like get rid of that evil, the evil that killed his entire clan pretty much. And then it evolves to say, okay, well, the evil from Itachi, okay, well, that spawned from the evil of the village, right? And he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna just kill the village then, right? And then it evolves to, oh, well, the only real reason the village was corrupt is because the entire world is corrupt, right? So he always tries to go for a noble cause, right? It just sort of, it keeps getting, like, higher. It's just sort of misguided, if you will.
Yeah, so Sasuke is supposed to be smart, but he's an idiot. I mean, Itachi came back and literally said he was an idiot. Because he was like, why is he wilding out like this, like, when he has friends like Naruto that literally debunk his stances? Like, a lot of stuff he does are so irrational, and the only reason that's a problem with him is he's supposed to be, like, the genius, prodigy, smart guy, That's my... But Hiei, meanwhile, he has bowed it off rip. Like, he is naturally evil because he's a demon, but he negs himself, like weakens himself on purpose, so that he can go to the human world to find and free his sister. And even then, he wasn't dramatic about it. He wasn't like, oh, I'm going to find her, celebrate, do all this. He's like, I just want to see her free. I don't even care if she knows I'm her brother. I don't even care if she knows I exist. Because he was like a bastard child. and he was like, I'm just gonna do what I need to do and handle it. The whole time he has to deal with he has to like suppress his bloodlust and take it out on the right people. Like he's naturally has this drive to do hood rat stuff because he's a demon, and he has to neg that. But still, like even when he goes to the tournament, the dark tournament, which I mentioned with Togoro versus Yusuke, there's like 4 different times throughout that tournament where Homeboy goes, "Yo, fuck the." He literally says, "Fuck the tournament, Yusuke. Let's shoot this bitch up." He's like, "Let's just fuck everyone up. Like, fuck these guys." And Yusuke's like, "Bro, chill. Like, we are gonna just win the tournament on our own terms to prove like we're doing this." He's like, "I know how to prove how good we are. We kill everyone." Like Hiei is so straightforward and so tough that like he brings a perfect balance to his team, and everything Hiei does makes sense and has purpose. And he does show throughout his development his ability to suppress even when we don't think he is. For example, he stabbed someone from behind that's trying to kill Yusuke, but he actually, we find out later, spared the guy. He intentionally stabbed him in a way that wouldn't kill him because he knew the guy was a puppet. So, like, we see these intricate developments of Hiei whilst he still maintains what makes him Hiei, which is, I will fucking fight anyone that steps to me. He literally gets in a fight with the dude and says, I'm not swinging back until you give me something worth swinging on. He's so badass. Like, it's ridiculous. But with that badass nature, balances the complexities of his character as he's developed over time.
Okay. Alright, hold on, let me think. Give me a sec.
Like Sasuke did, like I don't think Sasuke ever really develops. He does the same shit. He chases a loosely tied goal. This man, are you telling me this man didn't sit there for years and just ask a simple question? Why did Itachi do that?
I mean, even if he would have asked, it's not like it would have gotten him anywhere, because no one knew why except, like, the village elders and Sasuke. And the village elders don't just, like, walk around in the open. So even if he would have been like, okay, why did Itachi do that? Itachi wasn't going to tell him. As a matter of fact, Itachi, like, I don't remember if Sasuke asked Itachi, but if he did or didn't, it really doesn't matter, because, like, Itachi, like... Itachi basically lied to Sasuke about what was going on, right? So he specifically lied and told him something that didn't happen. So even if he did ask, it really didn't matter, just because we didn't see him ask on screen. I don't think you should use that to like neg Sasuke's character.
Well, you definitely can, because the whole purpose of at least why did he seek that? If he had sought it and wasn't able to get anything, so then he continues, 100% agree.
Wait, can you repeat that?
If he had sought the truth, and if he had sought a deeper meaning, which his character is supposed to be so intelligent and so seeking, like the whole time, and a lot of times he's seeking shit, like seeking power and stuff. It's literally his whole grind. But if he had attempted, which is what a smart character would do, which he's supposed to be, and didn't get the results, I would agree with you. But it's that attempt is what would solidify his character.
Okay, I see.
Even Jiraiya. Jiraiya's an idiot. Jiraiya sought the truth when fighting pain. He said, there's got something deeper than what I'm just dealing with right now. There's got to be something there.
Yeah. Alright, let me see. Yeah, alright, Sasuke sucks. Let's let's move on.
Alright, who's your last character?
Naruto Uzumaki, believe it.
Alright, I'll use Yusuke.
He just said believe it. Oh my god.
Actually, you know what? I won't even use Yusuke. I won't even use the nuke. I'll use Kurama.
All right.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So I think some of the best things about Naruto's character is that even though he lives in this like world of like shinobi and their entire shtick is like killing people and like being emotionless and all this, right? And despite the fact that he's kind of like dumb, he always finds a way to sort of talk his way out of certain situations. Like a lot of like the main villains, he's able to like he's basically able to like mind hack them by talking to them basically into like making things go his way. So he essentially uses like psychology to like accomplish his goals other than like just his fists pretty much. And he does this despite the fact that like he gets started with like the worst possible scenario, right? So the fact that he's like the underdog, right? And that combined with the fact that he can just essentially use he fights, sure, but more often than
I don't
not he
think. I
also
don't think. I don't think Naruto's an underdog though.
really.
No. Hell no.
All right,
This
so
man like dropped the under. I agree he's supposed to be perceived in that nature, but when you act like I said, when it comes to the sniff test with Naruto, like once you go down that initial layer, he's not actually an underdog. Man doesn't even have to pay his own rent.
all right, hold on.
Like your life can suck, and you could still not be an underdog. I would agree his life sucked, especially in the beginning, but he was not an underdog. Man spawned like 200 clones in like chapter 2. He's dripping in plot armor. Like, it's absurd.
Oof.
All right, so all right, hold on, I need to get a lid on this. Hold on. Okay, so as far as the like okay, so you say because okay, so wait, what's the main reason do you think like he doesn't pass the sniff test? Can you like run that by me real quick?
Because he's supposed to be an underdog, but he's actually not once you look past the initial layer of character.
Okay, I see what you mean, but I'd argue what Naruto is fits the underdog build because so the definition of underdog, right, is just someone who goes from zero to hero basically, is whether that be in like physical capabilities or even just like what people like perceive from him. So I'd argue maybe not to the viewer, but like in his verse, right? Even though he can spawn like 2,000 clones in the beginning, right? It really doesn't help like do much for like how people in the verse perceive him, right? Even though he can do that, most people still think he's like doo-doo. Like there's a bunch of scenes of like people just doo-dooing all over like a bunch of his clones like back to back. So it's not like, him having all those clones like sealed like easy dubs the whole time, right? Because so he still has like most people still he's like trash, including like Sakura, who like can like barely even like make clones in part one. Even she thinks he's doo doo, and like Sasuke and like every other character basically. Even like Rock Lee, who is he's basically like has no talent, kind of like Guy. And like even Rock Lee comes in and just like bullies him. So like so I think.
Well, I mean, he bullied Sasuke too, and Sasuke wasn't supposed to be an underdog.
True, but
like he literally almost killed Sasuke the first time he met him.
I mean, yeah, but okay. Okay, hold on. All right. So, all right. So basically, I'm okay. So essentially, what I'm trying to get at is that, um, he, even though like there's these other characters, right? He's pretty much always like below them in like most of part one, right? He starts off like below everyone, pretty much, right? And then he like slowly like grows to like surpass everyone, and in their perceptions as well.
Okay, so I would argue their perception of his verse doesn't matter as much as the perception of what we are able to perceive. Just because, like, the argument of, oh, people around him think he's an underdog because he's 0 to hero. A lot of people would say, like, oh, Kobe Bryant sucks. Why? I hate him. Everyone hated Naruto. Like, they just hated him as a person. So they had a reason to put him in that lane besides actual ability. They're already heavily biased. People hate Kobe Bryant because he's Lakers. Like, he played for the Lakers. It doesn't make them underdogs. They're just like, there was a perfectly logical reason to hate and brush off the idea of acknowledging Naruto because of how he acted.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean.
Now, before, like, do you want me to go ahead and present Kurama so that it's not just me attacking your character?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kurama, when presented, is one of the 3 demons that young Yusuke, early as a spirit detective, has to hunt down because he stole stuff. And we find out Kurama is actually an ancient fox demon spirit, immensely powerful, however, extremely suppressed on Earth. And we find out that he actually was sick and tired of what he was supposed to be, which, heartless demon, gave up that life of bloodshed and stuff and just wants to live a normal life in the human world with a family that loves him. He wants to experience that. He wants to be different than what everyone else is. Literally immediately, we get a character that is tired of what you're supposed to conform to and is sticking out as their individual, like, own character. And throughout the series, he's the intelligent one, just like we immediately understand he was smart enough to break out of this mold and find a way to escape it. And he's a genius. He's the tactical fighter the whole time, consistent throughout. No one ever really surpasses him in terms of an intelligent fighter. And what makes him so interesting is he will do what is needed to be done, even if it goes against what he wants to do, for the sake of everyone else. So, for example, he was fighting a kid named Game Master who would trap you in his own it's called a territory, where you have to play the game in order to get by him. You have to beat him at the game. Kurama is playing the game with him and deduces that this little boy will die if he loses the game. Kurama won't die. Kurama gets to play again. This kid dies if he loses in his own game, which is what Sensui set up, because Sensui didn't want to have to deal with Game Master later on if Game Master's convictions change. So he's sitting there with this kid. Kurama, like I said, he only kills when he has to. He doesn't want to hurt anyone. He's sitting there playing the game, brings it to the kid for 2 reasons. 1, it's the truth. 1, it's to get in the kid's head, make him change. This kid goes, so will you lose so that I don't die? I don't want to. I'm afraid to die. Kurama looks over at him and says, I didn't come here to lose. In the end, this is what you pick. This is what you have to deal with. Do I want to do it? No, but it's necessary. And then the kid dies. Kurama takes this, has to carry this with him, moves on, and like one-shots the next couple people, just bodies them because he has this dormant power. He controls plants and shit. He does a whole bunch of cool shit. But he bodies them because he's tired of people forcing him to do the very stuff he tried to abandon. And then, with this consistent nature in mind, we see him eventually go back to Demon World. He's summoned by the demon he used to run with, which is one of the Demon Kings, who appreciated him for his genius and his abilities. And the guy, what happened was he dipped when someone tried to assassinate that Demon King so many ages ago. and the Demon King found the guy who assassinated him or tried to assassinate him and kept him there until Kurama came back. And then we find out that Kurama had tried to have that assassin kill the Demon King, even though he was best friends with the Demon King, because he understood. He always sees the bigger picture, and he understood that the way the Demon King was wilding out would get both of them killed. And Kurama was sick of him wilding out. He was sick of the crazy stuff and wanted to leave. Used the opportunity to leave. But the Demon King wasn't even mad at him when he found this out, because he's like, I understand. That's in your character. You couldn't get through to me. You tried to do this. And in the end, it actually saves the Demon King because it helped him understand where he was messing up. So literally, this is one of the most consistent characters ever, as being intelligent and always seeing the bigger picture. And we see the emotional struggle of doing what has to be done because it has to be done, even if he doesn't want to do it. On top of this, he gets it done.
All right. Yeah. Okay. There's literally nothing I can go after on that point.
I'll give you an example. Do you know who Rorschach is from Watchmen?
Nah.
Oh well, there's this scene. This is basically, to sum up Kurama. This is how Kurama operates the whole time. Rorschach goes to prison. Everyone's like giving shit in there. They're like grab him. They're like, yo, like you're in here with us now. The people you put in, like you're just a little ass dude. You're nothing. And he bites like a dude's cheek off or something, or his nose, spits it out. And when they're dragging him away, he said, y'all don't understand. I'm not locked in here with y'all. You're locked in here with me. And that's basically how Kurama operates the whole time. When someone's wilding out and showing how strong they are, he just looks at him and he says, dude, you got to understand, you're breathing right now because I'm letting you breathe. If I wanted to, I could wild out right now. It's not until we see the higher ups, like Sensui, that we realize, okay, Kurama can't beat everybody. But to a logical extent, he only holds back because he only does what's necessary. So yeah, he's like one of the coolest characters ever. So, yeah, bops Naruto for sure.
Yeah, all right. I agree. So, next category then?
Let's see. For the sake of time, do you want to make a part two after? I'll give you
Sure,
time to look over arcs and development.
All right, that's fine.
All right. Yeah, so anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. Part 2, we'll go over arcs and character development and plot and stuff. More so, which is not necessarily about like one character or whatever. Should be interesting, but Cool Geek, you'll have an amp for prep time. You can go to your Naruto heads and get prep. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Cool Geek, thanks for coming on, and we'll see y'all later.